that every time, Mom, he's done this, Mom, he's done that, he's a mama's boy and all that. It is very, very important that we get into these conversations. And so it is as simple as men. Do you know your worth? If we know their worth, then they're likely to be the best materials that we want on board. And so joining us for this conversation, unfortunately, Michael Lisali was supposed to be here, not feeling well, but he sends his apologies, but also sends a replacement to him. And so we'll be getting into this conversation alongside Abdi Kazungu, who is seated right next to me. Abdi, thank you so much for creating time to be with us, as well as Moses Kimoto, who comes in to sit in for, what's his name again? For Michael. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us. And lastly, Eric Omondi, Asanteni Sana. Do you know your worth?
Yeah, for me, I know my worth.
Yeah.
Do
you?
I do.
Moses? Oh,
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, of course.
How does it help to know your worth?
It gives you an identity.
Yeah?
It gives you a mission.
When you're born, I mean, isn't it automatic that you have an identity?
It is automatic that you have an identity,
yeah.
But your identity at that point is your name.
Okay. Just that.
Just
not
that.
The family that you're born in,
no.
Not the country.
Those are people you learn.
Yeah.
Those are people you learn.
Okay.
There's a culture you learn.
Yeah.
There's a way of life you learn. And you do not only learn from your family.
Yeah.
You learn it also from the society that is within you. Let's say, for example, when I was born, I was told anyone who's older than I am or the age of my mother is equal to my mother.
Okay.
That is a culture.
Yes.
So if I meet anyone old enough to be my mother,
you call them mom.
I'll definitely greet them the way I greet my mother. If I meet anyone old enough to be my grandmother, I'll greet them the same way I greet my grandmother.
Yeah.
So that is, from that point, you get to know who you are, what you are, what the direction that your life should take. Then you understand your worth as a man.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you get to understand your worth as a man, Eric? There's a lot of crisis and confusion, even on the aspects of transitions in life. So how do you get into that space that, you can now start saying that I know my worth, away from the culture, away from where I'm born, away from the people I'm born with, away from my name, that this is the substance of who Eric is, and at what age?
I think it's a progressive improvement. From the time you are born, you become a teenager, you move on in life until you become old.
Yeah.
So this worth keeps on identifying itself as you keep growing. But you see, it's not something that comes automatically.
Yeah.
It is not something that is inborn, just like Moses is saying. It's something that grows within you.
Yeah.
So it's something that you also have to build yourself.
Yeah.
Because I know this current generation, Generation Z, we are living in a generation where most boys, most men, really do not know their worth.
Yeah.
But you see, there are also different aspects of life that identify your worth as a man.
Yeah.
There are some things you have to intentionally do to raise your worth as a man, to know your value. And most of the time, especially, I would talk much on this current generation, the Generation Z. They are growing in a world where they are being led by other people or by other, how do I put it? Some activities. Ni watu wa kurukaruka. So basically it becomes very difficult for them to identify their worth, to know their value.
That the entire Gen Z is in trouble?
Not the entire Generation Z, but a huge percentage of them who are being led by a certain wave.
We are coming from a space where it seemed right, what it is that our elders did. And we're trying to emulate that, we're trying to copy that. But like you rightfully put it, there's a lot of change in the world. So who said that how they behaved is the ultimate, who said that how they did their things is what should be considered right? What is this one thing that gets you saying that Gen Z is getting it wrong? Because to them, that would be right.
You see, that is where the challenge comes in. The parents to Gen Zs were never mentored And that is where we as the mantle come in.
Yeah.
Our generation were brought up in single parents home. So no man was there to tell us what to do, how to be a man, how to live as a man. No man was there. When we were being initiated into manhood, we were not being even given a talk. We were just taken to a hospital. You go get cut, you go back home, get healed. That is it. So that is where we need a new generation to come in and talk to this Generation Z and talk to them and teach them how to be a man. And tell them this is what masculinity is.
Yes.
And manhood is not necessarily being rough, being unkept, being drunkard, being a man, being strong.
Yeah.
It is more than that.
Yeah.
It is more than that. There are things that you need to create in yourself. There's a certain way you need to treat yourself. There's a certain way you need to act for you to be a man. Yes.
All right. So Kazungu, what is this that we call a man's worth, and who is to instill the knowledge on this? Like, would rightfully say that we really need a generation that will speak to these other ones. At some point in time, I hear Eric say that, this is something that you acquire over time. Perhaps, you could be locked somewhere in here and, in the absence of very many people or in the absence of the rest of the world, you are there. And at that point, are you able to realize your worth as a man, so that when the door is opened and you walked to the world, then you are that man who understands your worth, having lived in isolation?
Okay, what I can be able to say is this. Okay, knowing your worth, it's a process. It does not start from here and become a process and become a worth from there.
Yeah.
It's a process. From the time you acknowledge yourself and you're supposed to study yourself, know your weaknesses, know your strengths. From that, you are able to move forward, because you'll have known yourself, you'll have known how to treat yourself, how to behave, how to encourage yourself. Because I can't be the person who will encourage you. You're the first person who will be able to encourage yourself, to be able to push yourself to move forward. So for a man to know his worth, he should know where he's come from. He should be able to evaluate himself from his past going to the future, and align himself towards his goals and towards his surroundings by building himself, whereby the virtues of building yourself is being able to respect yourself so that people can respect you. Being able to encourage yourself so that you can be able to uplift you. Because without being able to encourage yourself, you won't be able to uplift yourself. So it's a process.
The difficulties of life, it's beautiful, we can say it's a process, but you are faced with challenges. We all react to challenges different. Generational curses, which we speak hugely about, generational gaps, like you started by saying, and you have to face this as a man. And sometimes they throw you off balance, you misbehave, you get into alcohol, like you rightfully put it. How do you convince such a person that there could be a better face to life than them dealing with these difficulties, to a point where they can shed that off, that even in the midst of the difficulties, they appear to be people who are noble?
I think it starts from how we are brought up. You see, there's a generation that was brought up in a very different way, in a very straightforward manner, in people who are proactive. But what I would say is our generation of parents, I think, is what is failing us.
Is it?
Because we are in a generation where both parents could be working, both parents are engaged the whole day. They really don't have time for their children, and they really don't have that time to mentor their children. As it is, currently we are living in a generation of there's a lot of information, and it's easily acquired. Because in most homes, I would say in 98% of the homes, you will get in the house, you find the children as old as 4 years old. Everybody is on
The phone.
And there's really no one to monitor what these children are watching or what they are listening to. If you listen to radio, there are quite a number of songs that even us as parents, we really don't understand the content. But somehow for them, there's a way they perceive it, and they try to emulate that, especially what they capture on internet. Internet has a lot of information, some good information and a lot of misleading information. We are really not there as parents to guide these children into their worth and into their value.
It's a new thing. Let's accept it, yeah? It's as confusing to the parents as it is, perhaps to the kids. And while we would want to point fingers at the parents and say, you're absent, you're not doing this, let's face it, you have to go out there and earn a living for the sake of this child. You have to come back home, and also you're excited about what's happening on the phone. You probably are doing your activities there, reading the phone. And let's face it as well, they have to get into this space, because if you'd stop them, they're going to meet their aunties who are going to introduce them to the phones. They're going to go to school where they're doing some of the studies, on internet and all that. So in as much as we want to really blame it on the parents for having failed us, how do we just juggle around this and accept that we're in this space where there's technology, things are moving very fast, but then we have to manage it somehow?
I think we have to put in deliberate controls. You don't just come in and assume, okay, dad is coming, he's tired, mama is coming, he's tired, so we are free to watch anything at any given time. We also have to put specific control, deliberate controls, so that we make these children, this growing generation, a proactive generation. The other thing that I noticed, this current generation, even the ones that are in colleges and universities, we are raising employees. We are not making employers. What you realize, our generation, we are trying to make something that would provide for quite a number of people. These guys, they want to come in and have it easy, get employment and move on with their life. We are not creating employers. So you see, it's taking a totally different route from what we are currently trying to create. Yes, you're trying to create this background, and you have some other person who's saying, this has already been created. Why do I need to reinvent the wheel?
Is it me? Is it me? And I'm not trying to challenge what Eric says in any way. Maybe before I come to you, Moses. Is it me that feels like, my time, when you were going to school, it was purely school. There was no room for you to, get into some other businesses while you're in campus and all that. Your mom would tell you, can you focus? Na shule, mambo hizo zingine zinataka kufanya utakuja kufanya baadaye. Yesterday, I had some lady here who is in campus, actually almost sitting for her examinations, and she is into the world of bakery, and she is doing that very well, getting support from the parents. Perhaps an easy way of the parents saying, awacha ajifanyika kitu na mimi niweze kufanya vitu zangu this way. And I feel like this generation has gotten its hands into a lot of activities, proactive activities, in comparison to our generations back then. And then we can confidently say that we are raising employers, we're raising, employees and not employers.
Okay, what I can be able to say is this. While we were growing up, there were so many restrictions.
Yeah.
If it was education, you had to concentrate on education.
Yeah.
But the now generation has so much freedoms and liberties, whereby in our generations, it's as if we were imprisoned into a certain psychological thing. So we were to think in a certain way. The now generation, the current generation is very liberal. They have so much space, so much freedoms. And in these freedoms, they are able to multitask, to do so many things. Because like in our days, we were few artists. But the current generation, there are so many artists.
Yeah.
Because of what? Because of the liberties. But these liberties, I don't think the liberties should be capped or should be reduced. What we should do is empower them more, and be able to direct them in a certain way, so that they can be able to face the future in a different angle than we face the future. Because in our time, we were being introduced to life as in, this is the direction we pick. If you are going for employment, it will be employment. If you're going to become an entrepreneur, either you will be focusing in jua kali, the technical field.
Yeah.
But that was not fair.
Yeah.
The now generation, I think things are fair.
Yeah.
And things are good. But it's just that they don't have a certain angle on how to tackle issues.
So they're left, right, and center, and somehow get lost in therein.
What I call them is that the generation apana tambua.
Okay, well, interesting.
My point of view is that I think the fact that we while we were growing up were told the only thing we can do is get studies so that you can get employment. We as the parents now are trying to change that. We are telling our children, use your talent, because the employment space is not too flexible for everyone. So we are encouraging our children to use their talents. That is what is happening. That is why you find that somebody is doing his studies, but on the other hand, he's utilizing his talents.
Yeah.
And that is where you find, and that is what happens in the developed world. You find people are using their talents to make money.
Yeah.
But still, they get the education. And sometimes you'll find that they'll go for their talents, they'll make money. Then when they make money, that is when they go back to education.
Yeah.
That is generally what is happening.
That's good, and that's a clear indication that we can substitute the importance of education. Gentlemen, I want us to get into the nitty-gritty details of it. Know your worth. Why we have focused on this subject. What are the roots to knowing your worth? What are some of the tools that you work with as a man, as we speak to this young generation, in getting to understand that, and just what is the importance, of a man getting to know their worth. Allow us to take a quick short break, and then we'll come back. From listening to their podcast, the Man Talk 254, and I thought, isn't this what our little guys or our men really need to listen to? It's interesting to note that we have those ones that, have matured, but really have not matured in terms of, worth, in terms of just being gentlemen. And so when they talk about the men, the experiences, the difficulties, sometimes I want to thank the social media, because through this, very many, men are spoken to. Something that most of our parents will not do, something that most of our men will not do. But those ones that have been raised by single parents, like I say, also get the advantage of getting some lessons that are helpful to them. So while we might complain that there's so much that is happening in the world, we are thankful to some of these spaces because they allow us to have this kind of real talk. And so today we are focusing on the worth of a man and just how important that worth then is to them and to the society at large. In studio with me is Abdi Kazungu, seated right next to me, as well as Moses Kimoto and Eric Omondi, as we decipher on this. So let's get to this actual conversation. I'll start by asking you this, Kazungu, then we'll come to Eric. Just what is a man's worth?
Okay, a man's worth, what I'll say is what a man will pride for. How you'll want people to perceive you and get respected for either your character or either not your material achievements, but your achievements as in you're surrounded.
Material pia muhimu.
Material ni muhimu. Ni muhimu, lakini material si muhimu kwa kujielewa na kujifahamu.
That's true.
Kwa sababu vile naweza sema ni hivi, ni kujua thamani yako ya mwanaume ni kwa kutumia kuweza kujielezea, kujielekeza na kuweza kujituliza wakati una hasira, wakati balaa zinakuchanga. So why I say this is because most of us men, we don't know how to behave when we are mad. We just continue becoming more mad. We become crazy. When we are depressed, we don't know how we'll handle the situation. Either financially, either in the house relationships, most of us don't know how to handle this. So by knowing your worth, you'll be able to handle all these things without even disturbing anybody. By creating peace towards everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why I'm asking that, Eric, is because most of the people who are watching us this morning, perhaps a young boy who's just trying to figure out themselves, would want to understand, why would I sit down and listen to three gentlemen telling me the importance of knowing my worth? And they would want to understand just what is this thing called worth in the first place, and the journey towards it, and the involvement of other stakeholders towards making you getting to know your worth.
I think just as Abdi has put it, knowing your worth doesn't just mean having material things. There are quite a number of things that are surrounded by it. How you carry yourself, how proactive you are, how the society looks at you, because again, the society plays a very big role in building you as a man. And then again, besides the society, there's now you yourself.
Right.
Are you proactive? Are you respectful? Do you know your boundaries? Do you know when to say no? Do you know when to do something? Exactly. How do you talk to people? That basically determines your worth. And allow me to say something small on what we are doing as the Man Talk 254.
Yeah.
Because we noticed that there has been a lot of support for the girl child that kind of lowered the value of a man, because it was like everything now is around the girl. The man and the boy child have been left behind. So what we are trying to do is to empower the boy child, make them know their value, and to become better people and responsible people in the society. Basically, not just on material stuff, but also in terms of development. You could not be having this much material or this amount of money for you to be able to help someone. Whatever you say to them, how you talk to them, how you relate with them, really defines you as a man. And that is what exactly we are trying to do as the Man Talk 254. Yeah.
All right, so here we are, and say someone has known their worth. Of what importance is that to them and to society?
When a man knows his worth, then the society becomes a better place. When a man knows his worth, he has an identity, he has a vision, he has a mission, and then the society is healed. Once you heal a man, you heal the society, because a man is the head of the family. So if the head of the family is doing well, then the rest of the family will also do well. Yes.
All right, that's incredible. What would you make of a man who knows their worth and their importance in society and themselves?
Okay, once a man knows his worth, the world less. Even you ladies will be in better hands, because this man will be able to take care of you the way you're supposed to be taken care of. Will be able to respect you for who you are, not just because you're a woman, but for who you are, because he's been able to accept your weaknesses, your strength. Now he'll come and supplement your weaknesses to become your strength.
Yeah.
Because he'll be a servant unto the people.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you say supplements. Eric, how then do we come in to complement what it is that is the worth of any man? You know, for instance, even in the workplace, we look at this point and say, this is a man who's worth their souls. How then does the society come in to complement that for us to make it even better? Because there are instances, you are worth as a man, you know how to say no, you know how to manage your anger, but then the pressures of life and the people around you do not allow you ample environment to exercise that. Then it becomes a problem. So how do we come in to complement that worth such that even the younger generation would look at it and how we behave and say, now this is the way to go?
The society plays a very huge role in making a valuable man, in identifying the worth of a man. Because again, I could be knowing my worth as a man, my value as Eric, but then the people around me, how we relate to them, really makes someone question even myself, my worth as Eric. Because again, we are living in a generation where the man does not have the platform to express himself. I could be having my own issues. I know my worth as a man. I know I'm supposed to speak out on some issues. I know I'm supposed to engage different people to solve issues. But then when I try to do that, I get suppressed by the society. So now the support of the society, probably the government, the people we work with, really determines how we move forward in creating this value and worth in the boy child and in the man. Yes.
And we speak of a society that is neglecting the man, the boy child. And that has been a complaint for a long time, perhaps because it's been a patriarchal society. And so for a moment, we felt like there's a lot of advantage for the boy child. Let's focus on, bringing up the girl. How do we create a balance on this such that we will not say that, well, we are doing well in terms of raising, or empowering the girl child, but for a second, then we demean the worth of a man by overlooking the importance of training them better, the importance of always constantly getting them to understand that, even in this bid of making sure that the girl feels their worth, we still acknowledge who you are.
Let us allow men to be men.
Cry. Wanasema mwanaume ni kuparara.
Let us allow
mwanaume hafai kulia.
Mwanaume ni binadamu kama wewe. If you feel like cry. Just make sure that the circle you're crying in is a safe circle for you.
Yes.
You don't have to be at least tough. No, you are a man.
Yeah.
I am made of flesh just like any other person or any other lady. I'm made of flesh and blood. And I also have feelings, just like any other person.
You want to tell me when, it was trending that mwanaume ni kuparara, mwanaume ni kukauka, mwanaume ni kuvumilia, you never advocated for that? Ama it was just in the euphoria?
That is the euphoria. But then, okay, kuparara ni sawa.
But
let men be men. Let men be able to express themselves. Give them that time. Give them that opportunity. Let them talk about what they are going through without being judged.
Yeah.
If you cannot talk it in your office, get a safe circle to do that. And that is one of the things that we are trying to do at Mantalk 254. We are trying to give men a space where they can come in, share their stories, share their issues without being judged. That is just a safe circle.
It's a judgmental society. How can we even say? How can you convince this young boy that when they tell you of the experience?
I will tell you something I have done personally.
Yeah.
Where my mother stays is like a plot. There are many houses where we have quite a number of single parents and absentee fathers.
Yeah.
So what I've done, I've taken those children, I've taken all the boys in that place, I've sat them down. We normally have sit downs with them where we talk about our issues, where we mentor them, we walk life with them. We address the issues they have. If they're having issues with their parents, if they're having issues in school, if they're having issues with their friends, we sit down, talk together, and even learn how to be men. Yes.
All right. Is that possible, or is it possible for a woman to match into that space and for it to make sense to a boy? Say you're a single mother. It's fine, absentee father. What are you supposed to do? Is it possible for a woman to match into that space and fill in the gap and speak to this young boy that it would make sense?
Okay, what I can say is this. The way a woman will speak to a young boy is different from the way a man will speak to this young boy. Yeah. The man has authority, whereby this authority is not I can say it's dictatorship or anything. When a man speaks to a boy, the boy, in quotes, will be able to capture some words. Yeah. He won't fool around. Yeah. Okay. And then the space that a man has not been given, people don't believe men are emotional. We are, because we are human. It's human nature. A man has feelings. We get hurt, we break down. But if you are not strong enough, you won't be able to get back on your feet again. So the challenges that we face are challenges that are normal challenges. Towards each and every person, it's a normal challenge. Yeah. But towards the aspect of the society, a man is not supposed to be challenged. Yeah. But we get challenged. And through these challenges, most of us don't know how we'll be able to transform and be able to handle these challenges and be able to become stronger and wiser.
Okay.
So we are deprived of some things that we need. We're not allowed to cry. Yeah. But when you cry, you somehow become human. in some way you become more human.
And you let loose.
Express
Yeah.
yourself. You get to express yourself.
But most of the times we have been complaining, and I'll tell you, because of the times that I've posted these conversations on mental health, on I don't know what, here and that, the biggest complaint is that men do not want to speak.
Because they don't have a safe place to speak.
Exactly.
So-
There's a lot of mental health issues
Yeah.
with men, especially men who are in relationships, who are in marriages. We've heard stories of men who are being beaten at home, but they cannot say it anyway. We have a story of a friend of ours. He's now a friend of ours, but he's a man who, through this GBV in the house, gender-based violence in the house, he ended up losing his arm and his leg because of these issues that kept on coming up, and someone did something to him that made him lose his arm and leg. So men are suffering inside marriages, inside relationship, inside the workplaces, in the government, because we've also had a few people we've talked to in the government who go through GBV issues, but they don't have any place to express themselves. There's no platform for men to go and say, like, you know, this is happening to me, help me in this, without getting judged. So what we are trying to create is a free space for men. Come, talk to us, the Man Talk 254. We will give you counseling. If you need medical attention, we are trying to put in doctors in place. We are trying to have counselors in place. We are trying to have legal practitioners who can be able to follow up if there are any cases.
These are
terms of
considered
GBV.
expensive affairs.
Yes.
For instance, I always talk to counselors here, and I tell them, why people tend to overlook the importance of a professional counselor is the fact that it feels like it's expensive because you have to go through sessions, and these sessions you're paying for. So a man would rather just keep it to themselves and die in silence. Some of them will tell you, this is now a mental problem. It requires medical attention. It's an expensive affair. We've been talking about health today.
Yeah.
So how then do we get to level the ground such that if these men are going to look at this as a safe space, they are going to get solutions?
You see, what we are trying to do, we are trying to build a team. Build a team that can handle all these issues across board. We're trying to make partnerships with, there are a lot of counseling institutions in the country, but men do not want to visit them because, again, they fear being judged. You have GBV issues at home, at work, you're being mistreated. You cannot go, or you have mental issues, you cannot go to a counseling center or a counseling office because you fear being judged. We're trying to create that safe space so that we have partnership. There are already people we are creating partnership with, some hospitals, GBV centers who have professional counselors, psychologists, doctors who can freely come in and provide that assistance in terms of counseling, medical assistance, psychological assistance for those who might be having mental issues that have come up as a result of the man being oppressed. So it's a team that we are currently trying to build, and it's a partnership that we are creating with different people to make sure that if you come to us as a man with all your issues, we'll not judge you, we'll give you professional help, and not just that, we'll make subsequent follow-ups to make sure that this issue that you had is fully sorted and you're living your life as a man. Yes.
So someone is asking, how do you know now that you know your worth? Unasikia kakitu hivi kwa mwili, unasikia umeokoka. But what exactly? What is this that gets you knowing that
I think
I think I know my...
I'll just highlight, then I think I can allow Moses or Abdi to take it over. I think knowing your worth is you will be having a definite direction in life. You will know that this is what I want and this will be my end goal. You will be proactive. You will be responsible.
Okay.
Yes.
So si ati kitu utasikia kwa mwili hivi
no, you'll even feel that sense of responsibility and sense of respect. Yes.
All right.
You will understand what your purpose is, number one. Number two, you will be a responsible person.
Yeah.
Number three, you will know how to relate with those who are within your circles. Yes. And you will have a clear direction of what you want, where you want to go, and what you need. And you will be able to say, this is not on my line. You have your boundaries. You will have your boundaries within you.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll ask the same questions, but or the same question perhaps in a different way, Kazungu, in the journey to realization. So, what are some of the signs that you will witness, or the world will witness, tuanze kusema, hey, Kazungu amechange and change for the better?
Okay, what I can say is this. It's not a title that you'll get, but you'll be able to understand your surroundings. You'll be able to know how to behave because you'll have known how to respect yourself. And you'll be able to respect the entire community. You'll be a servant unto each and everyone. You won't be boasty or bossy. Because I said a while ago, it's a process. And in this process, people will be able to see you as a different person. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, because you're not doing it even for society.
Yeah,
you are doing it
for
for the
yourself.
betterment of yourself.
Nick is watching and says, if I get to know my worth, nitaanza kiburi. Sasa afadhali nikae tu bila kujua, nikaange tu hivyo, kwa sababu kiburi itanimaliza. And I mean, that's probably what most of the people are struggling with. Utaanza kung'ara, watu tena
Mwenye
wasema,
anajua worth yake hana kiburi. Kwa hivyo ukiwa na kiburi haujui
worth yako. All right, that also is a very, very important aspect to look at. Because at some point in time, in the journey to realization, I'll ask again, there's a lot of relapse, Joa. Like, in the world, to get to say ati nataka kuacha drugs somewhere kidogo unajikuta umerudi, and most of the people in that journey, there's the desire to become a better person, but somewhere along the line kitu inafanyika, unafanya kitu mbaya, you want to beat yourself and everything. How do you get these people to accept that it's possible to fail somewhere along the way, but that does not stop the journey?
I think this is mostly happening in colleges and universities. You find that from primary, secondary, this is a straightforward person, a very good person. Then in college or in campus, something happens. Then again, later on, he tries finding his way in life. And I think I'll go back to what Moses said, and we are doing as a team, is having these young people from the tender age, from primary, from secondary, so that when you go to colleges, you already know a direction. Having sit-downs with them, having talks with them frequently, either every week or every 2 weeks, and just trying to guide them in life. And these are people we pick and follow up with them until, we intend to follow up with them until probably they get employment, so that in between, you don't tell them this is your worth, and then umwachilia akiingia campus and get lost, then you start looking for him, whether he finished campus, whether he got employment. So this is a process that we want to start from tender age and follow up through to the manhood of this person.
Well, this is quite a huge, subject. The beauty of it is that the conversation goes on Man Talk podcast, so they can always catch that out.
That's on YouTube.
Yeah.
The Man Talk 254. Subscribe. Hit the bell. We always have new stuff every Tuesday and every Friday. We will post something new. We normally visit people who are doing extraordinary things or something, which we call My Story, or we get somebody to come in and give us history. On Fridays we have discussions, group discussions. These are some of the panelists. Mike is also part of the panel. We also have a few other clergies. We have doctors who are also part of the panel. So there's a lot to learn from the podcast.
Yes, the conversation continues because, well, it's a process of growing generations and generations. So your parting shots.
Yeah, my parting shot. Okay, your morality is your cage. As a man, don't fear. Always accept. You're not the best. You have your weaknesses and you have your strength. When you fall, don't fall and sleep there. Just fall, rise up, and start moving again. As a soldier who moves in the battlefield, just know you're in battle, and the battle is yourself in realizing who you are.
That's a man to a man, a man to a woman, a man to our mothers who are single mothers, a man to, the girls.
Allow men to be men. Don't be too hard on them. Yes, they will be strong for you, but they will also have down times. Allow them to be men.
Right. A man to society.
A man to society. Pick someone to mentor. Follow them through in life. show them the right direction. Be responsible, be courageous, be courteous. Just behave in a way that society will see you as a true man who cares and cares for the women.
Eric Omondi and Moses Kimodo, as well as Abdi Kazungu. Asanteni sana, gentlemen. This was We Cannot Exhaust. I hope that we can have it some other time. The conversations